Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today, I'm gonna be honest, I just want to talk about my favorite game on Switch 2 and just gush about it. And no, it is not a game made by Nintendo, because there are as many as 3, maybe even 4 available on Switch right now. You can't forget Drag X Drive. You can argue objectivity with me as much as you like, but personally, for me, my favorite game for Switch 2 is Cyberpunk 2077. I have been playing this game for a flippin' long time now, to say the least. And as I said before, I'm just gonna gush about it. Sit back, this is gonna be not exactly structured. As an aside, there are gonna be no major spoilers in this video. I'm probably gonna be mentioning certain things vaguely, but anything like super important and super spoilery, I'm not even gonna touch. But you know, there's gonna be some things where I might say, I mean, if you really care about getting no spoilers, don't watch the video. Simple as that. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. So, like an awful lot of people, I'm not saying everyone's had this experience, but I've had a bit of a, I would say, mixed history with this game. It's no secret that when it launched, it was very funny, because it was very, very broken, and there were a lot of people talking about how it was misrepresentative and all this sort of thing, but apparently the PC version was really good. Either way, suffice it to say, it didn't have the greatest start in life, but over the years, not only have CD Projekt Red kind of rectified that, I think personally, they've gone above and beyond and taken what was it doesn't really feel fair to say that it was a joke, but something that was definitely not what people wanted, and turned it through God knows how many free updates, and not just bug fixes and that sort of thing, but free extra stuff they've put in. There's DLC as well, which is really more of an expansion. I don't think I'm the first person to say that. I think someone else said that, but it really is more of an expansion than anything else. Entirely new area, that's Phantom Liberty, by the way. You know, entirely new storyline, and not just like a few little side quests here and there. It's like, I mean, I don't know, because it was so fragmented, because I was doing bits and pieces throughout my time with the game, but I swear you're probably looking at least another, in terms of just like the main story thing you get in Phantom Liberty, 8 hours, maybe? I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because there's so much stuff within Dogtown, the new area, that it becomes utterly impossible to give you a genuine idea of how long it is. And it is such an intoxicating storyline, you forget all about time. But trying to get back on topic, my first actual experience with the game, firsthand, not just, you know, online, seeing all the funny things with, you know, cars driving away without people in them, which it was genuinely funny, was, I think, when they released a version for the Xbox Series X and the PS5, because I remember playing it on my Xbox Series X. I don't know whether it was as soon as it, you know, was announced and released and everything like that, but there was like a free trial or something like that, and it's like, hey, you can play the first 4 hours or something for free, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because it was a free trial or something like that, so I didn't feel committed, but I really did not get into the game. Like, I can't remember what start I picked. I'm assuming I picked Nomad, because you get 3 options, obviously. Oh, I forgot to mention, edit this in at the start, Alex. As an aside, there are going to be no major spoilers in this, but I got in and I started doing like the first, it's not even the first mission, it's basically still part of the tutorial, where you go into this building and you rescue this tremendously naked woman who's been, you know, sort of disconnected. She's barely alive, basically, and you're there with Jackie, and who's kind of your sidekick, and you've got a, well, partner really, and you got to rescue her and stuff like that. And I got through that, and I just didn't get it. And I know I'm not the only person who felt that way, because Felix felt exactly the same way as me. I don't know whether it's because of the same reasons or up to the same point, but either way, he tried it a couple of times, never quite got into it. And then I heard it was coming to Switch 2, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should give it a go, because I knew it was a good game. I knew so many people had gone on and on and on about it, and so I thought, you know, I'll finally give it a go. You know what I'll do? I will get some preparation in, because it'd been a long time since I'd reviewed a game, and I thought, you know, I really want to review Cyberpunk. So I got a version on GOG, which is at least partially owned by CD Projekt Red. I don't really know about it, but I got the DRM free version and I played it on my Steam Deck of all things to begin with, and that is a time. It's fine in the main game, but Phantom Liberty, that is an experience on Steam Deck. But I started playing through and, giving it a little bit more attention and paying a bit more attention myself, actually doing the Militech, VR training thing and paying attention rather than just going, I'll work it out later, that kind of attitude. Not a good attitude to have when you're doing tutorials, just a little tip. And I started to really see what the game was all about. And I ended up, in the end, I think before getting the Switch 2 version, I got to an ending. I'm not going to go into any details or anything like that, but I got to an ending. And so I was fully prepared when it came to the Switch 2 version. I thought, brilliant, I only have to test performance and then I'll be away. And then there were a lot of complications and I had to really push things because I couldn't believe it was running as well as it was. And, I got sucked in and stuff like that, so the review ended up taking a little bit longer. And I think for the actual Switch 2 version of the game before I got the Switch 2 version, I think I'd done 40 hours in the game, and then the Switch 2 version, in the space of 2 days, I did another 18 or something stupid like that. Really, I just did nothing but play Cyberpunk. And it was great. It was great. There's something very, very special about Cyberpunk as a game. And I'm saying Cyberpunk, I mean obviously Cyberpunk 2077, because Cyberpunk is not only a genre, but also it is, and I didn't realize it, but it is what this is based on. This isn't a wholly new game and a new world or anything like that. It is based on a tabletop role-playing game from the 90s. And I had no idea until, this year at some point. I can't remember precisely when, but you don't need any of that previous knowledge in order to completely and utterly enjoy this game, which is, I think, an incredible achievement. But as a result of that, as a result of it being based on something else and very similar to something like The Witcher, which is based on a series of books, not a tabletop role-playing game, the world of Cyberpunk 2077, just the world of Cyberpunk, is incredibly mature. And I mean mature in the sense that it's fully fleshed out. There's so much depth and character to everything, Night City particularly. But the characters, there's all this history within the game, sort of one of the main characters within the game, Johnny Silverhand. He's okay, minor spoilers, I suppose, but I mean, come on, minor spoilers. Skip to this time if you don't want to hear about this thing. Johnny Silverhand is in the game. He's a thoroughly important character, and he's not really there. He's in your head. Because, he died in 2023, which even now is in the past. But he's a fairly important character within the tabletop role-playing game as well. But he is important, but then you read more into it, and this is what's happened. I've become enamored by the world of Cyberpunk. He's important, but there's another character that is referenced only very briefly in 2077, and I think I know why. I don't know why, but I have my suspicions. Called Morgan Blackhand.
Morgan Blackhand.
And he's just they mention him once or twice in passing, and he is the most important character, or one of the most important characters in Cyberpunk history, to the point that there is even there's even a flashback you experience, with Johnny in your head, one of Johnny's memories, and you just accept it as it's read in the game, and that's what I did. I thought, hey, oh wow, he took, this nuclear weapon, this nuclear bomb up to Arasaka Tower and blew it up. That's not what happened. That's a twisted version of what Johnny remembers. So it plays on the player's perspective as well, because you just have to take it as read, because he doesn't know any better. And that's what happens with all stories in real life. You get a perspective of one person, and it's never going to be true. The truth lies between everyone's perspective, and you'll never get that. And that is such... It's not like Cyberpunk is the first game to ever do something like that, but it is just such a rich and thoroughly enjoyable concept as storytelling goes. And it's just so wonderful. And also, you don't even know it unless you like dig in, because it's not important. And that sort of mentality is rife throughout the whole game. There are so many like Easter eggs and references, loads to Blade Runner, unsurprisingly. It's, you know, a big influence on the original Cyberpunk. And I have to just shout out Mike Pondsmith, because you've created a ridiculously intoxicating world, and it is horrible. Like, Night City is horrible, and I know that's the point, but it's just amazing work by him. Absolutely amazing work. And obviously it's over the course of decades that this has happened, but even so, superb work. I'm absolutely in awe. What the hell was my point? There's so much richness, even just within the game at face value. And then beyond that is so much more besides. Like, I've been enjoying Cyberpunk as a sort of a universe? I don't know. As a story, as a concept, you know, Cyberpunk as a whole, that I started looking into it, and I was like, oh yeah, tabletop RPG. You know, I've been playing a bit of D&D recently. It could be fun to GM a game of Cyberpunk Red, the latest version. So that's what I've been doing. I've become game master for a Cyberpunk Red campaign, and oh, well, you know, sort of, I'm not, you know, super duper intimately familiar with the world and stuff like that. I've played a lot of 2077, but I haven't read any of the other stuff, haven't really read any of the campaigns within the rulebook. I just, I thought, yeah, I'm really into it. So I wrote my own, because I'm a massive overachiever, and I thought, I like writing. Let's write a campaign, having no experience with it whatsoever. And you know what? It's great fun. Like, I've probably made snafus, you know, I've probably made errors, you know, I've had to make up stuff as I go along, which I know is a big thing when you're game master or dungeon master. You know, the last session we had, I had literally written nothing, zip. I had a vague idea of something like a plot point or like a side story, and so I just decided to, I'll make something up as I'm going along, and so I created like 2 or 3 new characters just on the fly, and it's just like, and one of the characters was named by another one of the characters as like their handle was Chair, but this guy was very nervous, and so in the end I was just like, oh, you sort of suspect that maybe because one of the players is a fixer, and he's like, oh, you know, he would know the fixer, and this nervous guy was talking about a fixer, and he called him Chair. He sort of thought, well, maybe it's probably not Chair, you know, he's probably confused or something like that. He's clearly, you know, maybe even cyber psycho. And so so I said, yeah, you work out that, you know, he's probably just getting confused about someone else, and I managed to think up, well, I think, oh god, I've forgotten the name now. I'm pretty sure it's Jimmy Chesterfield or something like that. Chesterfield being a kind of sofa. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to work with this world, and I am getting massively off topic. This sounds tangential, but trust me, it'll make sense in a moment. So one thing that you get in a lot of games that are like fully voice acted, which Cyberpunk is, if you didn't know, fully voice acted, Keanu Reeves, Idris Elba, lovely stuff. There are so many lines of dialogue in so many, well, any game that's fully voiced, that more often than not, oftentimes there'll be a bit of cheating involved, and you know, you get it in a lot of RPGs and stuff like that, where and I know especially like the Octopath Traveler games, they have sort of the characters will be fully voiced for key important parts, but then when it's just sort of like broader general dialogue, they'll just sort of go, huh, and then text will appear, or well then, and text will appear, and it rubs me up a little bit up the wrong way, but I completely get it. You can't sort of have your cake and eat it. You can't have everything voiced, or it would just be a monumental task and be ridiculously expensive. I get it. And CD Projekt Red get it as well, but they made it work within universe, because you've got something called, I've just realized, I don't know if it's referred to it as this in 2077, but in Cyberpunk Red at least, it's essentially a phone, but it's called an agent, you know, and you just, you know, send messages, you call people. It's a mobile phone. It's a I'm getting excited. It's a smartphone. But yeah, you make a lot of calls to people and they'll talk to you and you get like a view, you know, sort of in the corner of their face and stuff like that. And they have like little logos and icons that represent them, and they can be fun little Easter eggs as well. Oh my God. Last night at the time recording, I found an Easter egg, a reference to Peep Show of all things. Just a character just very casually just mentions that they bought the latest album by Curse These Metal Hands, and if you know, you know. But there's also an awful lot of conversations that happen that are just text messages. Perfect solution! You've got this, you know, you can't voice everything because it's just too overwhelming. So what do? You do a lot of text messages, and there's a lot of like, you know, like data shards that have like conversations on them that you find, which arguably is less, you know, sort of clever because it's just you find bits of paper and, you know, stuff like that and all sorts of things. But this is just like, it's just text messaging. It is ingenious. It is so simple and it works beautifully within the world. No immersion broken. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And there's so much about this game and the game design that is just sublime. Absolutely sublime. If you want a more level-headed take on this, we do have a review of the game where I'm a little bit more critical, but I'm just enjoying myself now. Go and watch that if you want more critique. I've played through the game once, and even then, I'm still going. I haven't done everything. Not even remotely. You know, I'm fairly certain recently I found out that there was a fixer that I was introduced to early in the game that will give you a load of missions and stuff, and I just forgot to do the one mission that he set me out to do, so I never got any subsequent missions from him. And so I just, right at the bottom of my quest list, there's just like, oh yeah, I forgot about Padre as a thing. Okay, and now I'm expecting to, I don't know, because I think I've just done one mission. Maybe I've had another one through from him, I'm not sure. But I'm expecting to get quite a few new missions that I just had no idea about. I love it. But I have only really focused on one kind of build for my character. My new play is V, obviously. I've got so much to talk about with V as well. There's going to be so much that I don't cover in this video because I've got about 17 billion things to say. But like in so many games, you choose a build for your character. You know, are you going to be shooting, melee, you know, sort of netrunner, which is kind of magic system in a very broad sense. So I went for a sort of hybrid shooting, mainly shotgun and pistols, and net running. And it's been great, you know, sort of I'm not entirely focused on shooting, so I'm okay at shooting, but I supplement it with net running. But my net running isn't perfect either, so whereas I've read about people online who can walk into a room, go beep, and wipe out the entire room with like one move, I can't do that. Because, you know, I've sort of split myself apart, but it's how I enjoy playing the game at the moment, you know, but just the idea that I could, in theory, if I built my character differently, if I built V differently, I could just go into a room and go, Blair. And I can see how it's possible because I've seen the perks and things that you can get. And that's not even touching on, obviously there's like melee combat as well. And there's a load of stealth stuff. And I'm kind of stealthy, but I kind of left that a bit at the wayside when I found out how much fun the shotgun was that I had. And I'm already thinking about how I'm going to do my next playthrough. And I'm not even done with this one. I want to do a female V run because I've been playing as male V because I tend to, you know, sort of first time around, I pick a character or like build a character that kind of reflects me because it's just easier. But I want to have a pop with FemV and see what differences there are, because from what I understand, there are some subtle differences. And, well, as much as anything, your romance options, but also, like, you know, you sort of feel like, oh, you're creating a custom character in V, because they're kind of a blank slate, and they are to a degree, certainly, visually, at least to a point, as with any custom character, but also V is a character. Like, V's not like, you know, sort of just a blank slate and everything you do is, you know, building the character within. I mean, there is a degree of that. You do have a degree of control, of course. You have choices to make and things like that. But then there are certain instances where your options are limited because V is still a character and, you know, sort of just being nice or surrendering or something like that, just V wouldn't do, so you're not given the choice. V isn't you. You are controlling V as a character, but you do not have complete autonomy over V's choices. And that's not, again, that's not like super original. Very similar to Geralt in The Witcher 3, obviously, same, developer. But it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. I love it. I love being put in a situation where, I sort of think, oh, well, maybe I could do this. And it's just not a choice, because V's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm either going to shoot them in the face or shoot them in the leg. Because V's a character. V's a mercenary. V is largely going to choose violence. Not always, but largely. And you have to live with that. And you have to work with that in the best way you can. And you can choose to be, sort of non-lethal as often as you can. But then a lot of the time, it's easier to be lethal. Because you can, hide bodies. You're going to put a body in a bin, and that's apparently lethal. God knows what's in that bin. But whilst I'm on the topic of choices, there are certain things where there are just, and it's not just because V's a character or anything like that, but you are put in a situation, and this happens quite a lot, where your only options, and it's not because the game is limiting them or anything like that, but realistically, if you're in the same situation, you probably have the same options. There is no good or obviously best option. You'll often be given something and you're like, I'm in an impossible situation. None of these options are good. None of them. Nothing I do is going to have a good outcome. And so you're sort of weighing everything up and you're sort of working out the chances of what would be the least, the least bad thing to happen. Who's going to suffer for something or something like that. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love, and one of the things that I think is not as present in certain games as I would like it to be. Certainly something like the Bethesda games. Occasionally, Las Vegas, New Vegas had a fair few of these, but often, you're just put into a situation and you're sort of there's the good option and the evil option, and it's not quite as straightforward as that, but you understand what I mean, I'm sure. But in Cyberpunk 2077, there are so many instances where it's just oh my god, I don't know. Why are you letting me make this decision? It's too much. Sometimes it is genuinely, emotionally taxing. And I mean, obviously it's a video game, but even then you're sort of my playthrough is going to be tainted by this. I'm going to remember that I did blank. I'm still trying to be spoiler free. And as a result of that, the game feels incredibly cohesive. It deals with really serious, sort of strong, mature themes, not just, sexy things, but, not just violence either, but really sort of complicated moral decisions. And not that makes it sound really rubbish, but where there is no obvious moral option. Night City is arguably immoral as a city. It is just chaos through and through. It is just chaos, and you have to do what you have to do in order to survive. The lines between crime and legality are not so much a spectrum as just this horrible mess. And I love it. But more than that, it deals with really serious topics and takes itself seriously throughout most of the game. The game takes itself seriously. It treats the entire, Night City and the entire world as real, and the decisions you're making have a real impact. But it also knows when to not take itself too seriously and have fun with things. And that's such a difficult balance to get right, but they do it absolutely perfectly, I feel. Because real life is like that. Real life is a lot of serious decisions. Oh, I've got to work today. Oh, I've got to go and do this. I've got to, do the shopping. I've got to cook. I need to do the housework. It's not quite as serious as the stuff in Night City, but, you've got to do these things, but they're interspersed with moments of levity. Because not everything is going to be constantly serious 100% of the time, because you need a break. And as a result, it makes the game not only feel more real, but also just way more fun, because it's not run around, do gun shooty mission, moral dilemma. It's sort of, do a shooty mission. Oh, I've got to go and find a load of jokers from Balatron that are around about. That's a real thing. I didn't make that up. It's a cross promotional thing. I don't know. I think I found a few of them, but oh, it's great. It's great. And then you move on to the moral dilemma, and then you know, sort of you do a mission where, you know, you sort of think that it's going to be something big and sort of substantial, and it turns out that it's some netrunner having a joke at your expense. It's just wonderful. It feels so real. It's like this weird, twisted mirror image of our own world in so many facets, and it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming how much there is here. Absolutely overwhelming. And it's reached the point where I'm, like, unironically listening to the soundtrack, and it's not like, you know, the score and stuff like that, although we do put that on when we play Cyberpunk Red, but, you know, things like actively listening to the band that Johnny Silverhand was, you know, a part of and was the lead singer and guitarist in, like, sitting, you know, oh, what do I fancy listening to in the car or something like that, or, you know, if I'm cooking, oh yeah, I'll stick some Samurai on, you know, because that's his band, because it's genuinely good. Like, they've taken everything with so much care and passion. Everything's been made seriously, but also with fun and enjoyment. You can feel how much fun they had with the game. You know, like the launch and stuff like that? There are little Easter eggs. Like, I know of one Easter egg where, like, for some reason the collision wasn't quite right on the corner of a building, and so NPCs were just passing through it, like cutting the corner, and they fixed that, but then they put, like, a graphic there, like a spray painted thing saying, like, place head here or something like that to, you know, sort of, and like with blood splatters going down as if people have been trying to go through the wall. Perfect! They're noticing when they've done something wrong, you know, they've made a mistake, and rather than sort of try and hide it and no, let's not talk about it or anything like that, they've embraced it and made it part of the world. Utterly, utterly sublime. Can you tell I like this game? I'm gonna have to stop talking at some point, because I've been recording quite a long time. There's so much more to the game, but I'm gonna have to draw a line somewhere, you know, because I've got to edit this video. Maybe if you want, maybe I'll do like a live stream where I gush about this game. I don't know, let me know, but my god, this game it's I mean, I bought the physical. I don't need it. I don't need the physical. I got a review copy, a digital one. I do not need this physical version of the game, but I bought it, well, actually for a couple of reasons. One, because I love physical games. Two, I really want a physical copy of Cyberpunk. You never know. Three, it's all on the cartridge. Like, you know, it's not a game keycard or anything like that. Look at that. Look at that beautiful bannerless bottom right there. Bannerless Bottom. Now that's a good name for an album. This right here is the whole of Cyberpunk 2077. I'm holding it in my hands. And it's not, you know, something I've downloaded or something that needs to be downloaded on my console. It's here. I can plug it into any Switch 2, internet connection or not, and just play the game. And that is not to be overrated. The only reason I haven't done a video talking about how much I dislike game keycards is because we've kind of covered it several times already on the channel, but maybe I will at some point. To CD Projekt Red, Mike Pondsmith, and everyone at Art Alsorian Games, you have done some incredible, incredible work here. This feels maybe slightly hyperbolic, but I genuinely consider this adaptation to be nearing the likes of things like Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings. Genuinely, you've taken something that was already deep, rich, full of so much love, care, and attention, and adapted it into something that celebrates it in every way possible, but also makes it accessible. And that is no small thing, so thank you. Thank you, everyone involved. And I cannot wait for Project Orion. But what do you think? Have you played the game? Please do get the game, seriously. I don't care what platform you get it on, just get it on something now, and leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of it. You can do it now, you can do it in 10 years' time. I don't care. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you check out that Preem subscribe button and tell all your chooms about it, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. Thank Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you... I don't know. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you check out that Preem subscribe button and Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you... Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you check out that Preem subscribe button there?